Francis Sibley, the cadre of intelligentsia of the disability community, and Winifred Pay. Again, I'd like to say good morning. Let me say good morning to you, Mr. Dean.
Good morning, Buffalo. Thanks for having me.
Great. And Winifred and Sibley.
Thanks for having
Good
me.
morning. Thanks.
Great. So let me start with you, Samuel Dean, appointed by His Excellency President Joseph Yuma Boakai as Executive Director of the National Commission on Disabilities. How's it been?
Boyka for his tremendous internalizing the change he wished to see. Because if we can recall, when he was on his campaign trail, he promised diversity and inclusivity, and that is being internalized in real time.
Okay.
The irony is, I don't know if it's coincidental, but your earlier studio guest
Yeah.
was a person with disability.
Yeah.
He, for the first time in the history of Liberia, I stand to be corrected. A president have chosen, to provide a level playing field or to mainstream disability in our jargon and hit the ground running with including persons with disabilities into his cabinet. So he didn't even stop with Noah Zhao Gibson. He went ahead and also appointed Dr. Luke Bao, of the medical regulation,
Yeah.
medical health regulation.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he appointed me.
Yeah.
So traditionally, it has always been the heads of the National Commissions on Disabilities appointed, pursuant to the Act, the 2005 Act that established the community. So we'd like to say a big kudos to the president. It's not playing, he really came to get the job done, and we commend him for that. We hope that he should continue in that, pursuant to Section 5 of the Act that established the National Commission on Disability, which states that for every 100 persons that is employed in the confine of an employment agency, 4% should be persons with disabilities.
Yeah. Honestly, I was thinking about Noah going to the commission where you had, but interestingly, he is not the deputy manager for administration, but operations at the NTA.
Yeah.
It's quite striking for me to see disabled person, visually impaired, heading the operations aspect of the NTA. What does that mean?
It's a proof that we're not persons with disabilities, but rather persons with a vast externalities. And once given the opportunity, we can excel. Because in this day and age, disability has been defined by the social model. And what do I mean? If there's attitudinal barrier and physical barriers, like the one that I had to face, while coming to your office, I had to be carried, and I might have slipped and fall. So I would just like in this light to talk to the manager, the director general, right? That once his deal go through, for him to retrofit the building, with universal design. And have everybody included, because all persons with disability need is just that enabling environment and a reasonable accommodation to excel. They can do anything.
Not just at LBS, but every public institution. Those institutions, those buildings should be disabled friendly.
Of course, it's called accessibility.
Yeah. So tell us, how did you meet the commission? How is it there? What do you do basically in essence? What is your work?
Well, the commission is supposed to be an entity that is supposed to be in charge of all 1 million persons with disabilities. And persons with disability encompasses the physically challenged like myself, the visually impaired like them, the deaf or hard of hearing like they prefer to be called, and the people with psychosocial disability, mental illness, or crazy people, like we,
Mm,
compassionately call them. And all of these people are people who the National Commission on Disability is supposed to safeguard their rights, provide for the social welfare and the social well-being, education, health, advocacy, the works. That's
mm.
that's the function of the National Commissions on Disabilities.
Okay, since your appointment, taking office, how has it been? Where have you started from?
Well, we have few challenges,
Okay.
and I think that's what we're here for. We're here to intellectualize these challenges. I first and foremost, I met an empty coffers, and I met 84,000 Liberian dollars and 161 US dollars in the coffers.
Mm,
So that means I have to basically do everything. I have to renovate a bathroom that was left undone. I have to fix the roof of a building that houses the project writers. I have to buy fuel for the generator every day, and that's money coming from my own pocket. And I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that
mm.
you know
That you're
these
starting from
yes, I'm
scratch.
starting from. Thank you. Yeah.
Mm.
So I'm starting from scratch. But it's a privilege, and I've come this far because I've always loved to serve, and in the bulk of the time, use money from my own pocket to be able to facilitate the community. Yeah.
So, what does the future hold for the commission itself, and what are the plans?
Okay. So
I'm sticking longer term with you because you are the head of the commission and want to have a clear understanding about how you want to move the commission forward. Because I know you are more of an advocacy for the community. So if you're not capacitated, if you're not empowered, it hampers your advocacy arm and make government understand that there exists a community that need to be cared for.
mhm.
So what are the plans?
The point is to invoke social policies that we, the disability community themselves, have championed. I was one of the framers of the disability roadmap that got adopted by the United UNDP,
Mm,
and they call it the National Action Plan. The only difference is theirs is doming, while ours were pillows, and ours is from the ground up, and there's we're grassroots. But I always like to deal with these because people think persons with disabilities are supposed to be charity recipients, and we're not. Uh, we just are regular people like everybody else that deserve human rights. So if an entity, like for example, the Independent Human Rights Commission,
mm,
is a full blown entity, we want that for the commission. Meaning having five commissioner and executive director, the whole nine. We want vehicles. Persons with disabilities cannot compete with regular people for vehicles. In fact, my HR just told me she can't come today because she had to walk long distances because the motorcyclists are confined in a certain area. And a lot of times people would not stop for you because they think that you're burdened. So it's incumbent on the government. We're appealing to the government to provide vehicles for our almost 50 staff, a bus,
okay.
and also provide an SUV for our executive director and uh, two pickups for our two um, deputy directors, and then a sedan for our controller general. Our controller general, if you see him, he cannot even walk up these stairs.
Mm,
Yeah, it's an ordeal for him to even walk, but it's still commute. So these are the kind of things that we have. We even envision having our own home because where we're situated right now costs the government $25,000 yearly. To me, it's not worth it. I don't think it's even worth $5,000. And since 2012, we've paid over $300,000. So we need to build um, our own resource center,
mm.
and which doubles as an office in order to save the government some money. We envision training persons with disabilities as rehabilitation engineers, people that will fabricate assistive technology, wheelchairs, crutches, apps like the and just a whole bunch of other stuff that we will be former sector contributors, and we can do it once we're empowered. All we need is the education. Those are the things that we envisage we envisage empowerment. We want them to have sustainable grants for them to be business people so that they can contribute to the formal sector. We envisage accessibility. We envisage sign language interpreters in every studio situation like now. We envisage this should be the law for accessibility. We envisage um, the optional protocol that being signed, the United Nations, UNCRPD, United Nations Convention on Right and Dignity of Persons with Disability optional protocol being signed so that we can have a voice to be able to address some of these issues. We
Mm.
envisage everybody is educated about the National Commissions on Disability, not as a charity recipient from the government, but as a policy making body, that is able to contribute its quota to the country. You understand? So these are the things that we envisage, and we also envisage a $10 million budget for the commission because that way we'll be able to
So as
get.
it stands, what's your
It's
budget?
a little over. It's a little over a quarter million, and it used to be almost a million.
Mm.
In the past administration, uh, the president and I. This is a special appeal to His Excellency to please, because every time when people come to visit me, they always talk about the food ration for the holidays. In the past administration, there was food ration for the holidays, at least a bag of rice and $5,000, and it went across the board to thousands of persons with
So you
disabilities.
want that to continue?
Yes, I want that to continue because they asked me
Mm.
to ask the president, and you guys are the voice of the country, and I'm sure the president is listening or somebody is in his office, and we're just appealing, just for a piece of the cake. But to be honest with you, I have a bigger ambition than that. I'm thinking that should be every month
Mm.
because it's not only during the holidays that our people are hungry.
Mhm.
They're hungry every day. I think that's why you see them between cars, you know and so yeah, so that's one of the major things, the social welfare of our people, health care. Even in at the commission there is no insurance for our people. If they get sick, they go to the hospitals, they got to get money from their own pocket, and it's embarrassing. We need to see to get an insurance company to agree to insure our people, and for persons with disability, especially the ones that are derelict and cannot afford, to pay the bills to
Mhm.
go to school. I had a conversation the last time with a few of my visually impaired friends, and they were telling me that they need to see the eye doctor, and because it gets really painful at times. You know what I mean? So I said, well, there should be provisions. According to the National Action Plan I will talk about, there should be provisions for persons with disability, especially the indigent ones, to receive health care free of charge.
Mhm.
And because they just can't afford it. I read about a survey, a study showed that we have about 48% of the population that live in poverty. And guess what? 99% of that 48% are persons with disabilities.
Mm.
Mhm. So that's how serious it is. But we're not begging for hands out. We're begging. We're asking for a fair share of the cake. We want a seat at the table, like the president has already started to internalize. We want the opportunity, because once there's an opportunity with an enabling environment, a barrier-free environment, we too, will be nation builders and contributors to our economy and national development.
Yeah. So let me come to you, Ambassador Francis Sibley. I mean, just give us, an idea of the community. I understand cadre of intelligentsia of the disability community. I don't know specifically what you do as part of what you do. You and Winifred. I just want to start with you, then I'll come to Winifred.
Thank you, Lovely. And um, sorry, I like the way you put it. More of an advocate for
Okay.
people with disabilities in our community. And thank you for hosting us. When the orator speaks, it's difficult to to find a way out. So yes, Listening to the executive director of the Commission on Disabilities, there's a lot more that we see that needs to be done. We have already identified a few challenges that the community has faced over the years, ranging from accessibility to education opportunities, job opportunities, and employment.
Mm,
So, if you look at the current commission, the act, the commission is meant to cater for and to the needs of persons with disabilities. And I'm so shocked that a budget that was almost $1 million is being reduced to a little over $200,000.
mm,
Barely, you telling us you're only going to buy fuel, you're only going to pay staff. What happens across the country for the over 16, 23% of persons living with disabilities across the country? So what we're thinking here and what we want to keep pushing is to call on the national government to prioritize more the activities of persons with disabilities. Like he put it, we are not to be perceived as object of charity and pity. One of those days where you always give us handouts though. But it's important that you empower persons with disabilities. One, through the National Commission on Disabilities with more budgetary allotments to get involved with projects that will benefit the lives of those with disabilities by giving them skills. I'll tell you something, if you ask those in the streets today who are begging for handouts, they got skills. Some of them can carve things, some of them can make something to sell. And once those things are done through the national budget, you see these individuals becoming very important and independent and not being liabilities on society. Moreover, he spoke of the the act that established the Commission on Disabilities, Section 5. It says that of every 100 employee, 4%, which is just 4 of the 100, should be persons with disabilities employed in government ministries and agencies. I remember the last time I checked, in 2012, Madam Selig, during her cabinet meeting, proclaimed that every minister and director should follow suit. But unfortunately, we didn't see that, and we still didn't see that in the last administration. This is why we're coming up. Unfortunately, our country has no specific policy for persons with disabilities when it comes to their empowerment and livelihoods. But we want to revert to the Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the UNCRPD, which was passed by the UN General Assembly in 2006. And the convention itself is holding state parties who have signed up to uphold those provisions, especially the 50 articles in the convention itself and 18 optional protocols. So this can only be possible if national government prioritize our issues by making necessary provisions and accommodation, because
mm,
we are actually being plagued by systemic and environmental discrimination or other, in Liberia, people see you to be disabled first before your abilities.
mm,
I'll give you one example. I was looking for a job in 2018, 19. Somebody asked me, how will you get the job? How will you perform the job?
mm,
So and then I asked, like, if I went to school and I give you my credentials, how did I go to school? So you see, in Liberia, we're most discriminated just by our physical appearances. So we call on the national government to help us, because Sam is here to do well from his plans. He's here to actually do well. But what we need is more budgetary allotments. Even NGOs can help. We got a couple of projects that we have written out there. And we're looking for, but national government has to start the ball rolling,
okay.
because the issue of discrimination, lack of access to public buildings and public facilities, lack of access to opportunities for school, lack of job opportunities for persons with disabilities. We continuously see these, I know our friends and some of us in the streets, because we don't have any income of direct dependency. Yeah.
So let me hear you, Winifred.
Um,
Just weighing on, what the community, the challenges. I know we will talk more about the challenges. The challenges are never ending. But just tell us, some of the things that you go through, especially females. I'm very interested in you female people with disabilities. What do you go through? The challenges.
People with disability go through so many challenges, especially female. Because sometimes people overlook you. If you even go to school, people look down on you. Like for me, I graduated from the United Methodist University.
Mm,
I did communication and sociology. Well, if you even apply somewhere to look at you, well, how will you do the job? What
mm,
experience? What you will do? You need people to help you in the process. You need people to come and assist you, do this, do that for you. For people with disability, our disability is not inability. We can do something when we are educated. So we need to be educated. We need international scholarship, national scholarship. We need our budget to be improved. That we able to empower people with disability. There are so many out there on the street. Sometimes we are embarrassed when we see our friend on the street standing between cars.
mm.
We feel afraid because sometimes driver can be reckless. So we really need empowerment in the disabled community.
Wow. Okay, let me come back to you, Sam. Do you have an idea the number of persons in Liberia living with disabilities? Do we have an idea? The population,
Well,
is it increasing? Is it decreasing?
for what we're seeing, I think there is increasing because when you look at the motorbike accidents and just other illnesses that
Mm,
are disabling people, I think is increasing. And it's funny we talked about it because this is one of our projects that we want to do this year. We want to do enumeration of persons with disability. We want to do a statistics so
okay.
that we can have a data bank, and then so when we and our partners speak about disability issue, we get to speak from an informed perspective.
Mm,
Um, disaggregating data by gender, stratification, and color,
mm.
the works. Basically, qualitative and quantitative research, head count, if you may,
Across the country?
across the country. So we're in the process of doing a gap analysis about what religious has or what they did with the last census in 2020. Because there are a whole lot of different researchers. CETA puts person with disability at 20%, and we won't know for certain. And by the way, that 20% means that you have over a million persons with disabilities in Liberia.
As per latest report,
As per CETA.
see that.
The CETA is the Swedish International Development
Oh,
Agency.
they did that.
Yeah, they did that. I don't know if it was based on an international world metrics or it was disaggregated or it
Mm.
was. But what we want to do head count.
But does that mean that what latest does with national census
Mm.
is limited? It's limited because it doesn't give your community an idea as to your population.
It doesn't give our community justice. We have an adage that said there's nothing for us without us. And if we're not in the midst, we get to find out that, you know, law of preservation maintains. You understand? And we're overlooked. So they have this survey, and they're supposed to be surveying whether persons with disability exist in Liberia, right? So I'm a person with disability.
Mm.
I have a son with disability, and I asked him whether he did the survey. He said no, and I didn't do the survey. So that's just a gap, a qualitative gap from participant observation perspective. So I can see the gap already. So we need to do a gap analysis, I think, to be able to make our case to partners like the World Bank and UNFPA, because we need to do that. That is very important so that when we speak, we can speak, you know, from an informed perspective. Then I'll be able to tell you, Kavla, vividly, you
Mm.
know, there are, 500,000 persons with disability, 100,000, I'm male, 200,000, female, 50,000 are children, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but let's look at the poverty level within the community. Do you have an idea? I mean, it's a challenge already when you're disabled.
mm,
Family.
Whether poverty goes along with that. I mean, I just want to have an idea, and let's understand, because if you do it haphazardly, you have no idea. You have to do a data about the poverty level, the number of persons living with disabilities in the country, how many persons in your community can earn, how many of those working, how how many of them take pay per month, can feed their family and all that.
Absolutely, you're correct because Article 21 of the UNCRPD charged the government with the responsibility to collect these appropriate statistical data, to be used for development, and the implementation of policies, and for persons with disabilities. So it's very important. We cannot do anything,
Mm.
without that. So we're trying to push that with our
Yeah, Francis,
partners.
go ahead.
Yeah, and what he's just saying, it means simply that you cannot make the survey about persons with disabilities in a national housing population census to get those details. It means that you will not get the actual point out of the data. So that has to be separately done, and you have to bring those with their expert around the table to design those kind of survey.
Mm.
Right. Because the last time I checked, the 2008, if we just go back, because the recent one has not been approved, I stand to be corrected by the national legislature. But the 2008 census says that we're a little over 16%. However, we still remain, I don't know whether that's the same fact, but we still remain the poorest of the poor.
Mm.
Yeah. So you have too many persons who probably are just compensated because they have to pay their way from their house to go to somewhere to do some kind of work or are not having opportunity to jobs. Right. So there's
Is that
something
leading
it's something
to death rate?
somewhat because there are some people so take for example, I know a friend who had all his abilities, right? Apart from mental, because sometimes people get mentally disabled for like 5 to 10 minutes. But physically he was okay. He became visually impaired. He decided that he killed himself, right? But after sometimes he got rehabilitated, went to get job and couldn't get it. He like, what's the essence of me living? So you may be right. We're not
What
all
about
over.
starvation? People starving to death.
That is too
Does
bad
that
to
happen?
say.
Is it rare?
It's really rare.
Oh.
It's really rare.
Um, I mean, Slim, I know you are very ambitious. You have this big plan for the community. You want to do big things. But given the country that we live in, the economy, the limited resources, the competing priorities, we have other communities too that need so much as you.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the albino society.
Mhm.
Is it also not wise to understand and maybe limit your ambition?
Well, the Albino Society is
I'm just naming them as one of the challenged
yeah, and
communities.
I like to take it on head on. They're a minority group in the disability community, but we on with the sustainable development goals of the 2030. It states that we'll leave no one behind. So leaving them out is tantamount to non-disabled persons discriminating against us. So they were also a priority, and I think that's why they were prioritized by the last government. I think the government even getting 200,000, if you can remember, to build their own place.
To local
So
town.
yeah, so theirs is an isolated incident from ours. But at the same time, there are people who go through extreme circumstances, whether they're albino or they're visually impaired or they're physically challenged. And those people need to be catered to, And there are a lot of different ways that, like we just explained earlier, that they can be catered to. International scholarship, local scholarships, employment. That's one of the biggest way they can be catered to. In the NAP, the National Action Plan speaks to ministries and agencies absorbing persons with disabilities. Um, they also talk about them being a part of public life. You know what I mean? So that means every ministry should have a desk of persons with disabilities. Even the president's office, we're advocating for that. So and they can be very resourceful.
Mm.
I don't have to tell you. You listen to your first studio guest, and it bemused you that he was deputy for operation. And how does he do it? So that's just an example that when given the right opportunity and the right tool to excel, we can be the best of the best. So
Mm.
all we're looking for is an opportunity, a barrier-free opportunity to excel. But we also need national government to take the forefront to mainstream our activities. There are a lot of ways that we could generate funds. So take for example the LRA, Liberia Revenue Agency, right?
Mm.
It's a complete
Authority.
authority. It's a complete replica of the IRS, Internal Revenue Service in the United States, and it gave corporations the opportunity to give 15% of the taxes owed the government to organizations of their choice. But these organizations have to be registered legally. We have an act. You understand what I mean?
Mm.
And even if the government cannot give us physical money, the government can write letters to these entities. For example, maybe Reno Garage and tell them, look, for your 15%, can you kindly look at the National Commission on Disabilities and give them a few cars?
Mm.
Or UCI, for your 15%, can you look at the National Commission on, because this 15% is treated as purchase. I don't really know math that well, but maybe for example, if you owe the government 100,000 and
Mm.
you make a $15,000 donation to the National Commission on Disabilities, you're not really giving us anything free. It's the government.
You're just diverting.
Yes, it's just because it's treated as purchase. So the resources are all around us. But then again, disability is defined not by only the limitation, but the social economic barriers. You understand what I'm saying? For us to not be a part of these participation. Maybe they have other people that they channel these funds to.
Mm.
Maybe, you know, and it's alleged that other people preferred brown envelopes, and you understand what I'm saying. But if they're only diverting the funds the way the government and under this administration, we're grieving prayers that it happens because His Excellency Joseph Boyka mantra is accountability. I think we know that. So there's no way that you're gonna sit with somebody and plot that you've given them 15% and you only gave them 5%. You have to pay a fair share of taxes. You understand what I mean? So we've been engaging these people. We've been engaging corporations, and a lot of times they're very angry that we know these things.
Mm.
Yes, we know these things. We invoke the Freedom of Information Act law, and we tell them these things. We say, look, we don't have to be object of charity. You guys are not sorry for us. It's the law, the LRA, Liberia Revenue Authority laws, that if you make a donation of 15% of the government taxes,
Mm.
to an agency of your choice, you're going to get it back as purchase.
Sam,
Yeah.
where do you think your empowerment lies? Does it lie with political will from the president, or it lies with you sourcing funding from partners? By the way, how many partners do you have with the NCD right now? What are the partners that you met on the book?
It's a combination of both. You see, social policy dictates that people in the upper echelon define the problem, right? So, what is the problem? The problem is the socially sanctioned stigma that persons with disability are subjected to. Now, so these people in the upper echelon will usually be empathetic to the plights of persons with disabilities because they themselves have persons with disability or have persons with disabilities in their family. For example, the president mother crawled around in the kitchen to cook for him. So he has a soft spot for persons with disabilities. That explains why we've been appointed.
You're going to leverage that.
Yes, and his deputy, His Excellency Jeremiah Brown Coon, has a daughter who has a disability too. So that gives him a soft spot. Now, according to the NAP, the National Action Plan, I always like to refer to it because it will hold more weight because it's a combination of two. And when I say a combination of two, I mean the international agreement and then with the national agreement. It speaks to both, but the government has to take the lead in a sustainable uh, empowerment scheme.
Mm.
Partners can come in, but the government will still have to take the lead. You know, when I was in advocacy, I distributed over $5 million worth of wheelchairs and crutches and so forth and so on. At a certain time, I was like, enough is enough. This is the government's job. The government needs to do their job. Then we started, you know, advocating that the government get the job done. So the government will define the problem in social policy, not the international community. The
Mm.
international community will give what they think they're able to give. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I don't remember exactly what the project was, but President Weah, before he left, he had a project. Maybe my colleague can speak to it a little bit. And this project with the UN, and he had to make a contribution of $1 million to that project.
Oh, that was the at risk youth.
Okay,
I think that was with the UN. So it was a matching fund.
Yeah.
exactly. So that brings me to my point
Mm.
that is a cross cutting. It cuts across the government, the NGOs. You
Mm.
understand? But the government should take the lead because that's their job. That's what the government is elected for. A government is elected to provide for the security and the happiness of its people. What is the security? Food security, financial security, economic security, health. You know, and the people will be happy, and then there will be a successful government.
I was asking
And
about
that can actually work
Mm.
when you invoke the act of political will and budgetary adequate budgetary allotment.
Mm.
Yeah.
I was asking about the existing international partners
Oh,
right
the
now.
existing international part. I think chief on that list is the UNDP
Okay.
because they were so quick to adopt the strategic plan we talk about, and they changed it to NAP. It's basically the same thing. You know, it's just that we refer to ours as pillows. We have 9 pillows, and they have 9 domains.
Mm.
But it's the same thing. The work was cut off for them, but just so that they can
Are you
add.
going to be reaching out to them?
Yeah, in fact, we have a meeting with them tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a meeting with UNDP tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, and they got this thing called One UN. So a lot of the UN organizations work under one umbrella now. So we're going to try to see how we can be the country representative. The last time I spoke with Honorable Bresla Yanti, and she made an appointment for Zao Gibson and I and herself to go and meet with the representative. So let's see how that go. Mainly about technology and so far.
Okay. So you're listening. This is the Super Morning Show on ELBC Radio. My name is Vafli Kamara, and this morning I have Mr. Samuel Dean. He's the Executive Director of the National Commission on Disabilities. Ambassador Francis Sibley is here, cadre of Intelligentsia of the disability community in Winifred Pay. Call us on 080514096, 080514096 or 770581886, 0770581886. Let's hear this person. Morning.
Good morning, Babylon, and good morning to my big brothers and Mr. Dean. This is LSS Kona, chairperson for the Intelligent Class of Kingston.
Yeah, let's hear you, sir.
I want to appreciate you for the show this morning, and I want to appreciate Mr. Dean for the stand taking. And I also want to appreciate Ambassador President Jose Imam Bwaga for the preferment. But my attention is drawn to a few things. You keep talking about long-term plan, and this is what's suffering us now in Liberia, as I have observed. It's good that we have a priority that we will tackle and achieve instead of just having a bucket, long-term plan. So I would recommend to him that let him look around the sector or the community to know the priority issue so that he can tackle and have a success story in the coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Something that you can get started as soon as possible. 770581886, 0770581886, and be live on the show this morning. Let's hear from this person. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, my name is Joseph Bito and I call from Chicosta.
Yeah, let's hear you.
Yes, I want to make 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about the TS edition of festival or Christmas thing. The point I want to make is that the way they do the giving of the students disability thing on the radio on the song, I think it is unfair to disability.
Okay.
And secondly, I can remember some part of 2022, I wrote the commission, but then I had the issues concerning my school fee. I wrote it, I carried to the office. Since then, I haven't heard from them. I've been calling, doing a check. I haven't heard from them.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Let's hear you.
Yeah, my name is Biola and Garcia, and I'm new Montana.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to say thanks to my brothers in the studio when it comes to advocating for persons with disabilities in Nigeria. I want to say thanks to the three of them that are defining the issues of persons with disabilities. But I would like to speak to two of the issues that is spoken about, most especially one, the budgetary allocation for persons with disabilities. When you look at the community of persons with disabilities, people look at the community of persons with disability in the form a manner that they are rendering, they are helping people with disabilities. They don't want to look at it as a responsibility of the government to take care of its citizens equally. So looking at the reduction of the budgetary allocation for the commission from 600,000 to 200,000, it means you are telling people that we are at the bottom of the ladder, like you were talking about. Looking at persons with disability on the poverty. That means we are at the bottom of the ladder.
Okay.
Why can 200,000 do for the entire disabled community in the Republic of Liberia?
So that should be increased, right?
There should be an increment in the budgetary allocation for the smooth working of the Commission of Disabilities.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's hear from this person. Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah.
This is Stanley Suhan. I'm phoning in from Nashville.
Yeah, let's hear you quickly.
Let me say good morning to the Executive Director of the National Commission on Disabilities. And to his colleagues that follow me, Francis and Tony Fred. Finally, you see the issue of disabled people in this country. Allow it in ourselves, I think every leadership that comes into play as it relates to that entity, probably when they are leaving, we don't realize anything. As I sit in my seat here this morning and listen to the newly appointed executive director saying he met an amount of $84,000 and the 160, I still be corrected, US dollar. Probably it really broke me down because President we are with all of what the problem we are with them. He talked to the disabled community through that entity. The 2022 budget probably was $629,000 US dollar, and the 2023 budget was $550 United States dollar. And to hear that $84,000 and $160 US dollar was left as a bank balance for that entity, it's appalling. It's so sorry. I feel for the disabled community. Okay. And I think this is something that Honorable Dean needs to take seriously, that an audit should be conducted at that entity, and let's know how that money will be transformed, how it will really used in the community of persons with disability. And lastly, we want to call on the president that the budget for the National Commission on Disability this year is low. We need treatment. No, 200,000 is not.
Okay, let's hold you there. Let's hold you there and go back to something. Yeah, you can re-emphasize. Yeah, go ahead.
So let me start from the bottom up. when I was a merging advocate, I was one sided, but when I got a little bit of education, I became to be objective. I would like to respectfully disagree with the first caller that everybody that had come to the commission has been nothing. I would like to give the past commissioners their flowers while they're alive. They were innovative. They did the best given the situation, which is mostly budgetary restraint. Madam Pebe, she left a system in place of coordinators. When you look at the NCD today, it's structured, even though they are not paid, but there are over almost 300 coordinators throughout the whole county. And I'm talking about from county to district, and the deputies and secretaries and all of that. That's a good structure that makes our work easy. And I would like to appeal to the president to also consider putting these people on payroll, and it will also be a form of empowerment too, and it will boost the morale, of his government. So, and other people too, like, Kota and Madam Ricardia Dennis and Robin Williams, they did the best. In fact, Robin Williams was so far-sighted that he bought a land for the commission. It's just that this land has been encroached on because other leaders that succeeded never paid attention to the land to see how best we could build a 21st century disability model on that land so we can have a home of our own.
Mm.
Yeah. So I to my brother William Yasia, would like to tell you thank you for your contribution. You said it's the responsibility of the government to take care of its citizens equally. Speak up to you. You said it all. And to my brother who wrote the commission, you can still write again. Like my brother Francis said, that's the duty of the commission to provide health, education assistance,
Okay.
maybe even shelter assistance, and so forth and so on. It's just that because we have a little restraint, but it doesn't mean that you can't try again. Try again. Under this administration, you might be fortunate to be able to receive assistance from the commission.
Thank
And to my brother who wanted us to prioritize two things and stop being all around the place, we would like to bring your attention back to the increment of the budget, which was the crux of our conversation, and empowerment for persons with disabilities. So we've named two things, and I hope he gets it: budget increment and empowerment of the community.
Somebody will hold you there. Thank you very much, Francis. No time. Winifred, thank you very much for being on the show this morning.
Can I say one more thing? I would just like to thank the president for the 10,000 digital training that he's giving to youth. The second lady was very instrumental in securing 1,000 of those 10,000 for disabled youth. So I think I believe that youth with disabilities should take advantage of this digital program and learn how to do digital marketing, learn the basics of the computer, and so forth and so on, because we live in a digital world.
Thank you very much. Samuel Dean is the executive director of the National Commission on Disabilities. Also here with Ambassador Francis Sibley and Winifred P. My name is Vanfle Kamara.